Video. Strong opinions weakly held. And you can decide to spell weakly with an A or an E. Weakly as in held weakly, not strongly, or held weekly, like every week you're going to change your opinions. This is a saying that has been, popping around the tech world for a very long time. And I want to talk about it because it has a lot of significance for the mental state of a technology professional. And I can't, ultimately, what this statement is about is actually calling out dogma. So, what is dogma? Dogma is the practice of believing in something so strongly that nothing can challenge your belief in that thing, and to the point where you will defend it even when you're presented with overwhelming evidence that you're wrong. And we talk about a lot of other mental maladies in other videos that are related to this, including Dunning-Kruger and Anakin syndrome, imposter syndrome, all of that. But this strong opinions weakly held is a mantra that kind of emerged from, I think, Silicon Valley. Honestly, I don't know where it came from, but the point of it is very simply, thou shalt not be dogmatic. I did another video on what it means to become a tech bigot. And it's pretty fair, I think, to say that most people who become tech bigots, myself included, have developed a dogmatic relationship with a specific technology or approach or idea. They cannot release it in the face of new information. You can make the argument that strong opinions weakly held is another way to state the fundamental tenets of the scientific method. The scientific method says that nothing is true, nothing is real, nothing is for sure, not even the law of gravity, until there is substantial evidence, and that everything is up for rethinking. Now, you may say, well, what about 1 plus 1? That always equals 2, right? I'm not saying there are no absolutes. I'm not saying absolute relativism is absolute, which is, completely hypocritical and ironic. What I'm saying is that scientific method, which has given us every major discovery in since the dawn of time, and I'm talking to potential technologists right now. I'm not talking to people. Look, you can believe in God. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. And you can still believe that the fundamental ideas and the fundamental beliefs related to technology are up for debate at any time. So when presented with new information, you leave your strong opinion at the door and you create a new opinion based on the new information that you have. This can backfire on you. The people that I used to mentor, at one point they started calling me, and I hate saying it, Flip Flop Rob, because I was so, to quote James from the Bible, battered to and fro by the waves and tossed by the opinions by the new information that I was getting. And to tell you the truth, I still don't regret it. One in particular that I'll tell a story about is GitLab versus GitHub, right? GitLab and GitHub have been back and forth as the premier solution for source management and CI/CD and a bunch of things for a very long time. And my opinion about which one you should use and which one I use, I mean, that's investing in a source management system takes a tremendous amount of energy, and so to change over to something else is a pretty big deal. You want to make sure you have a lot of evidence for that, particularly if you're in an architecture role and if you're getting into IT, whether you're a web developer or you're a back-end architect or you're a senior IT professional doing architecture for the entire company. Your job is to research the most sustainable direction that provides the best possible solution to a problem. That is your job. You might not like it. It might not jive with what you want to do, in which case you might want to change jobs to do something else that's doing the thing you want to do. The point is, you need to stay focused and you need to stay with the technology that's going to deliver the best solution. And that technology is going to change. There's one thing that's constant in the world of IT, it is that everything changes. I mean, there's actually a term for this. It's called framework fatigue. In the web world in particular, they invented the idea because the web frameworks that were coming up to deliver web applications in particular were changing so rapidly that people can't even keep up. By the time they deliver a project, the framework that they delivered it in is now passe, and we need to do it in another framework. And then they never did anything. Nothing ever gets delivered. And not to mention trying to keep up with your learning, which is the subject of many other videos that I've made. How do you keep up with all of that? Well, you better at least have Fridays off, right? There's a video about that. Go check it. So, strong opinions weakly held. Technology changes at a pace that is absolutely astounding and exhausting. And if you don't allow yourself to change with the tide, and not just necessarily the tide, but to like be able to distinguish, but a separate video on this, distinguish between a trend and something that has roots that's actually going to take. This is really fundamental. And if you don't learn that skill mentally, you will not survive as a technologist. I promise you. If you actually do get good at this, though, you will be able to see the waves coming way before the rest and paddle at the right time and catch those waves and ride them all the way into success. This requires you to be willing and able to give up your beloved, wonderful technology and to leave it. And that I'm actually going to quote the late great Chris Nova on this. Chris Nova once tweeted before she passed. This was last year or so. She once tweeted that most of us will be coding in Go to be paid for the rest of our lives, but Rust presents a new hope for the future. And I love Chris, and I miss her desperately, and I'm going to cry. Because Chris demonstrated this idea more than most, and although I may have disagreed with her on particular points about Rust and its usefulness, she was able to state very categorically that no, Go is good, and this isn't about Go and Rust. This is about an individual who got it, who was able to change their opinion about something without giving up their hope and their interest in what could be. So, having a strong opinion about something with regard to providing a solution for someone who's giving you money and employing you, such as in Go, which is what she was saying, is totally different than having a passion and an opinion about what the future could look like. And in her mind, that was Rust, particularly for low-level driver stuff, which I totally agree with. The point is that this amazing technologist who was actually not allowed into the Google organization because she didn't fit the academic profile of people going into Google, proceeded to prove the idea that she was capable of doing all of these things. That she had very strong opinions, and she was very, very willing to change those opinions based on what new information she had come to her. And for that reason, she will remain one of the most amazing people in my, pantheon of godlike heroes in the IT world, along right there next to Aaron Schwartz and others. So again, it's okay to have strong opinions, but be willing to change those opinions when you're presented with new information. And does not make you a lesser person. There doesn't need to be backfire effect because you were wrong and you thought you were right. Right? It takes a bigger person. It takes a much more strong professional to say, I was wrong about WSL2. It actually really sucks. And it burned me. And like, see, we told you. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Saying you were right, to hear the words you were right come out of an IT professional, pretty rare thing, unfortunately. I'm imploring you to be one of those people. Be one of the people who admits when they have new information and that they made a decision that was wrong based on less than all the information. And when presented with new information, they willingly and quickly change their position. That is the way of science. It is the way of progress. It is the way of humanity for those of us who want to proceed. And I encourage you to do it.